Commissioner, is your microphone hot?
Mine is on.
Commissioner.
On? Yes.
Okay, we're going to try to speak plainly and clearly into the microphone this evening. Remember to direct your comments into the microphone, commissioners, and before the meeting begins, I know we have a public hearing tonight. There is a microphone at that podium as well. I ask that anyone speaking this evening also please take advantage of it. Director Akers, are we ready to go? Super. Okay. Well, welcome to the Charter Township of Van Buren Planning Commission meeting for July 22nd, 2026. The time is now 5:30 p.m. I call the meeting to order. At this time, if you could please rise with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could have a roll call, please?
Sherry Budd. Bernie Grant.
Here.
Peter Creel is excused. Medina Atchison.
Here.
Jackson Paul. Brian Cullen is also excused. Jeff Jar.
Here. Before we move forward with the approval of the agenda, I want to point out that our agenda changed recently, that the previous item number 1 for case 26008, the Waverly Housing Development rezoning request, has been withdrawn at the request of the applicant. Director Akers, could you comment on that, please?
Sure. So at the request of the applicant, we have removed public hearing item number 1, so it's canceled for this evening. The applicant has resubmitted an application. They are going to be making an application for a conditional rezoning. What this does is it requires the township to renotice the public hearing to make sure that we are complying with the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act and state law. So there will still be a public hearing request for this rezoning. It'll just be at a later date. So we are anticipating it's either going to be August 26th or it's going to be September 9th. And of course, we will post our legal notices in the Belleville Independent like we always do. And we'll try to share information on the township social media as well.
Thank you, Director. Just by a brief show of hands, was there anyone in the attendance this evening that was here specifically to speak on that agenda item that's no longer on the agenda? We have at least one person here that did come out to speak for it. I would ask the commission if we were to approve the agenda with an amendment that would say, let's have a very brief public comment so that the people that came out this evening to talk on the agenda item could have an opportunity to speak if they desire. Having said that, I seek a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
Through the chair, I would like to make the motion that we amend the agenda to take the public hearing up to the top of the agenda.
Support.
Let's have I don't need a roll call vote for that.
No.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. At this time, we are looking for approval of the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of June 24th, 2026. Is there a motion on the table?
I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of June 24th, 2026 as presented.
Support.
Have a motion and support. All those in favor of approval? Yeah, so that one doesn't have to be a roll call, does it?
No.
It's been a little bit since I've run one of these meetings. Sorry, folks. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. We also have on the agenda this evening approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 8th, 2026. Is there a motion on the table?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, make a motion to approve the minutes from a regular meeting on July 8th, 2026.
Support.
Support, motion and support. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. This evening, we have some correspondence and announcements. Our first announcement is that there is a joint planning commission meeting on July 29th, 5:30 p.m. at 330 Charles, Belleville, Michigan. A standard City of Belleville and Sumter Township Planning Commission meeting coming up on the 13th. Those meetings, City of Belleville is at 6:30 PM and Sumter Township is at 6 PM. Thanks staff for getting the times put on there. We didn't have them last time. Appreciate it. Director Akers, is there any other correspondence at this time?
No other correspondence. I did just want to make a quick announcement regarding the Planning Commission's rules of procedure. So I emailed the rules of procedure out to the Planning Commission this afternoon. At the Township Board meeting last evening, the rules of procedures were adopted, so all of those rules that we put in place are now in effect.
Thank you. At this time, I did see one hand raised with regard to the agenda item, the public hearing that was dropped from the meeting this evening. Ma'am, if you would like to come up and talk for your 3-minute period, we would be happy to entertain you. If you don't feel like you want to come up, we will move on with the next public hearing item. Please state your name and speak into the microphone.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. My name is Wendy Winnie. The Waverly rezoning public hearing scheduled for today's meeting was taken off the agenda earlier this week, and our community was notified of this yesterday through social media. Originally, when this rezoning application went public and notice was sent out, my husband, Andy Winnie, submitted a Freedom of Information Act with Van Buren Township. And then he decided to take action in downtown Detroit at the clerk's office. He made 6 or 7 trips downtown, discovering more and more each time. Andy has uncovered documents, original deeds, master plans, buying and selling paperwork for this apartment complex, and he has shared all of his findings with you and with Van Buren Township Board members. Andy has provided to you original written documents expressing how the golf course parcels are to remain green spaces permanently. What does this Planning Commission need in order to say no to this rezoning application? We keep hearing the phrase from representatives of Van Buren Township like, I don't want to get sued, or we don't want to get sued. Is that the parameter used by Van Buren Township for making rezoning decisions, just to not get sued? Does the McKenna's report dated May 12th, 2026, have anything to do with leading this developer to believe that their rezoning application was on its way to approvals? We have a couple of hundred property owners who will be directly and negatively impacted with the golf course properties going from its current recreational green space to 377 new addresses. It is time for Van Buren Township to decide that these residents and this established neighborhood is a higher priority than some developer out of Ohio who came onto the scene less than 2 years ago. It is time for Van Buren Township to hold the current owner of Waverly accountable for the demise of the golf course and its surrounding areas. There were reported talks in 2020 of fining the owner of these apartments for the deteriorating condition of their property. Why didn't that happen? And why has it been allowed to continue? Waverly was built in the 1970s with a dedicated and permanent recreational green space attached. Documentation of this original development has been provided to this Planning Commission. It is time for this commission to tell the Ohio developer that his plans to add 377 new addresses will not be approved, and that new housing will never be approved on these parcels of land. It is time for Van Buren Township to hold this property owner accountable for the upkeep and safety of their apartment complex and to get their attached recreational green space back to the standards it has been for nearly 5 decades. We look forward to seeing you, the Van Buren Township Planning Commission, to do right by us, the residents of Van Buren Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's some other people came in after they were.
Yeah, I'll ask. So just to be clear for the people that came in late, the original public hearing Waverly Housing Development rezoning request was withdrawn by the applicant. There won't be a public hearing tonight, but in recognition of our community members coming out to speak. We know you came out, maybe didn't see the adjusted agenda. If there's anyone else who wished to speak, please raise your hand. I'd be happy to recognize you so that you can have 3 minutes at the podium to state your position.
Hi, my name's Michelle Montour, and I live on East Huron River Drive. I just want some clarification, and I want to compliment you. That was really well said. Well, thank you. Very well said. So they withdrew their application, but they're going to submit a new one.
Ms. Montour, really, it's for making your comment or asking for any information or clarification at
Well,
this
that's what I'm
time. My
asking for, clarification. You said that they,
understanding is that they've withdrawn it. I think Director Akers has indicated that they may be planning to reapply. Director Akers, could you quickly address that?
Yes, so they did submit a revised application with a conditional rezoning request and agreement, so.
okay, I just want clarification. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great. If there is no other residents who want to get and speak on this motion, I think we will close that part of our meeting and move on to the public hearing.
Through the chair. I think the motion was to move the public speaking to the front, so that would mean any item.
Yes, that was my understanding.
Was that your intent?
Yes.
If that's the understanding of the intent was to move general public comment to the beginning of the agenda, then I think that seems reasonable to me. So at this time, I'll open the floor for general public comment. General public comment is for items that are not under public hearing or items that are not covered by the public comment periods above in the agenda, or below in this case, for the specific development projects. So if you do at this time have general public comment, please feel free to come up to the podium, state your name. You'll have your 3 minutes to speak. Please try to keep your comments on point. There to be a point of view, express a point of view, or clarification.
My name is James Moy. I live at 48150 March. You guys approved a pond some 6 months ago, and they've been digging for the last 6 months, dumping, and I'm like, when are they gonna stop dumping and slamming all these trailers back here?
So the ideal was to, excuse me, my name is Cynthia Moy, and I live at the same address, 48150 March Road. And so the ideal was the gentleman was going to dig a pond, but we have also observed him and many trucks dumping, right? So they did, I understand they were going to do a fill around the pond. There's obviously no safety gauge up there. I've been in communication with Ron Aker in regards to this matter. However, don't know if it has been addressed because there is, he's putting more than just dirt. There's a lot of other trucks coming and dumping. We would just want to make sure that this doesn't turn into a Detroit matter with, obviously, contaminated dirt, because we don't know, obviously, where the dirt is coming from. And it doesn't seem like, don't know, that this matter is being monitoring. So that's our.
Thank you very much. Director Akers, do you have contact information for the speakers? Were you in contact with them, to your knowledge?
I do have contact information for the speakers. I know I spoke with the developers a few months back about the soil that was being brought on site. They had indicated that, there was some clay that they needed to line in the bottom of the pond, but
Director
it's
Akers?
been a few months. I will make sure it gets addressed.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. There was new information brought to us. I want to make sure that it does get addressed, and if it doesn't, please. That's not what you're doing. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other general public comment this evening? Sir, I recognize you. And if I could ask, please, if you do have anything that you want to bring up and show to the board here, please ask that we recognize you. It's hard for us to divide our attention among a picture and someone speaking. I just want to keep it orderly. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, my name is Rocky Black. I'm going to be a new resident in Van Buren Township at 43350 Bemis Road. I bought 4 acres from you guys, and beautiful city. I've looked all around the state, and this is where me and my wife and my daughter's building right next to us, and on an acre. My issue is already the house is almost done, and already they told us with gates with fences. They said on the front side you can only have 2.5 feet, and then down the sides and the back you can have 6 feet. And for me, at first I didn't even want a fence. I love the beauty of everything going on here. We out in the country, not too far from the city. But the problem is when they started building, someone stole our front door. They stole our garage door. We have cameras all over it. I am a public figure. I'm in the entertainment business, so a lot of people around, I'm not bragging about it, but a lot of people know me around the country. And so I don't know what's going on, but like I had my RV there. They stole my Cadillac converters, cut them off, and the house isn't even done yet. So now I'm like, okay, I need some fencing. And so I was gonna get clear fencing, metal, where you could see through and everything. I just wanted to be able to have a gate that opens up and then around to protect my family. I have cameras all around everything. I have videos showing people just showing up on my property, walking around before it was locked. They walking in my house. And so I'm just asking for if I could get some type of approval for me to be able to have a fence around my house. That's it, and I'm not asking for too much. Like I said, I picked this city out of a lot of cities around here, and that's all I'm asking for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Black, for that information. Director Akers, it sounds like Mr. Black needs to speak to our building department about the fence issue. Can we have him give his contact information so that staff can reach out to him about the issue, please?
Yes, I'll grab his contact information.
Because I spoke to them, they told me to come here to talk to you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you so much, man.
Okay. At this time, if there are no other individuals that want to speak towards general public comment, I'll ask one last time. Anyone else, general public comment? Thank you, Mr. Black. I don't, seeing none, I take a motion to close the general public comment section, please.
Make a motion to close the general comment section.
Support for the motion?
Support.
And support. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion passes. Now we are on to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Beginning with item number 1. Item number 1 is the Belleville Road Overlay District B-Rod Height Zoning Ordinance Text Amendment. Article 6, Section 6.309 C2I, additional building height except hotels, senior housing, and hospitals. Adding Section 6.309 C2J, additional building height for hotels, senior housing, and hospitals. At this time, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Through the chair, I move to open the public hearing.
Support.
And support. No discussion of the motion. Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the public hearing is open. At this time, if any member of the audience this evening would like to get up to speak for this action item or this public hearing, please approach the podium, state your name. This time, I don't see anyone raising their hand to get up to speak on this public hearing item. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Through the chair, I move to close the public hearing.
And support. Discussion of the motion? Hearing none. All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, public hearing is closed for item number 1. This brings us to our unfinished business this evening. We have item number 1, case 26-001, Planet Oil, preliminary and final site plan approval. This is a request by applicant Bill Chamey on behalf of owner Zachary Rowley of 10645 Belleville Road, LLC, seeking preliminary and final site plan approval. The subject site is currently zoned C1 General Business. The location of the parcel is at 10645 Belleville Road. At this time, I'd ask for a presentation from township staff.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I will turn the presentation over to Lauren Sayer, who is our township planner.
Planner,
Thank
you have the floor.
So this request is by Planet Oil. They're at an existing oil change center along Belleville Road in the B-Rod district. The underlying zoning is C1 General Business. So as was discussed last meeting, the review says preliminary, but Planning Commission is allowed to do a single-step review for preliminary and final in one meeting. They are not planning to change the building footprint nor the parking area. A lot of the items are existing nonconformities. One of those that typically, would have fallen under the nonconformity and been allowed to remain was landscaping. However, the applicant removed all the landscaping prior, so therefore they're being required to be brought back up to the current ordinance standards, which includes landscaping from the landscape section as well as the B-Rod section. Going through the zoning and use, again, they're not enlarging the service center, so they are a special land use. However, since they're not enlarging or expanding that, then no additional special land use is required. We do request that they provide accurate data, or the date, sorry, on their submittal materials and site plans so that we're able to reference the correct one in the future. Additionally, the dimensions of the ADA parking space were not provided, and the access aisle, so those need to be provided and in compliance with the requirements of the ADA. The landscaping they're proposing is largely compliant. The only outstanding item, I believe, was the curbing details, but again, this is largely an existing site, but we still do need to see that on the site plan. And then the minor, the sweet gum being provided at a 2-inch caliper rather than the required 3-inch caliper. In terms of the architecture, the applicant is proposing a facade change, so the front elevation that's facing Belleville Road, that's the west, that will be a limestone, so primary building materials are permitted to be natural stone. They are also proposing the blue accent ACM, which is aluminum material on the front and part of the side. The existing structure is brick block, and they are proposing to paint that to match the limestone. So we understand that brick or the block is generally under the prohibited material, painted or otherwise, but as it's already existing, we do feel like as this change to paint it to match the limestone does bring it closer to compliance, and Planning Commission is able to allow that deviation, but again, up to Planning Commission, but we feel like this does bring them closer to compliance. So given all of those items, we would recommend granting them that final approval based on, meeting the outstanding items identified. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have a presentation from the applicant. Could state your name into the microphone, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Hassan Shukr. I'm a property manager with Planet Oil.
My name is Mustafa. I'm the architect of the project.
The floor is yours if you have a presentation.
So this is our third time around. I know the last hearing, we unfortunately missed the hearing, but we were notified to that at today's meeting to bring with us a sample of the material, both the ACM and the stone. So we do have that material here. And as far as the 4 remaining items that are on the McKenna site review, those were all submitted this morning digital so that they can proceed. In the event the meeting goes as planned, all we would be waiting on is an updated site plan review letter that all conditions have been met. So, being that it's our third time around, I was wondering if you guys had any further questions or want to see the material that we have here for you.
Great. Are the material samples fairly light? They're big. Are they light? Light enough that you could bring them up to Director Akers and we just pass them around the board, please? I should add that sometimes we get concrete plant panels as material sample, and they are not light. It's a panel. It is blue. Want to see the rock?
Oh, that one's heavier.
That's why I asked. That one is heavier.
Well, very nice samples.
At this time, unless the applicant has anything else they wish to present, I'll turn this over to Planning Commission discussion. Commissioners, any questions for staff or the applicant?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
One quick question for staff. And I know we changed this because initially it was just going to be preliminary. At the end, Ms. Sayer, it says that these could be, the 4 changes could be addressed through final site plan because we're looking at doing final and preliminary. Is that something that can be done administratively or you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I think they're definitely small enough to be done administratively, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
The chair. And,
Yes, sir.
And this would be 1 motion versus 2.
Commissioner, typically when it's a preliminary and final site plan approval, you could do it as a single combined motion. Yeah, if that were your desire.
Okay, that's
Yes,
great.
sir. Commissioner, any questions?
Through the chair, I just wanted to say thank you for coming today and bringing your samples as we had requested. The facility looks very good. As I've said in the past, we've had other oil change facilities come through and then they decide to back out. So thank you. I've mentioned many times that our community is in need of aftermarket routine maintenance on vehicles. I'm thinking that's why you bought the facility. So thank you for coming to Van Buren, and in my opinion, this looks very good. Looks like a good facelift for the facility. Good luck.
And through the chair, I would also echo what she said. I like the way it looks. I like the landscaping additions, and I think it will enhance that area.
Thank you very much.
To ask for clarification on the limestone facing, that brick that you just passed around. Will that be going around all 4 sides of the building, or will it just be limited to one face? How's that work?
Limited to one face, though the rendering shows otherwise. That was just a clerical error, but it's going to be on the one face. The actual construction plans show the existing and proposed elevations as they're going to be. So it's what's on the plan and not the rendering.
That jibes with the plan, Ms. Sayre? It's facing on the front, right?
So the primary limestone be on the front, and then
Okay.
I believe they're going to match the color. around
Great.
this.
My only comment on it is that had it been a new building instead of a retrofit building, I would think that it could have had a more earth-toned set of colors, a more earth-toned palette, as is more typical of our Belleville Road Overlay District, which tends to be red brick or earth-tone colors. Since this is a refresh of an older building that was an existing non-compliant, legal, but non-compliant structure, I do believe, I agree with our planner that this does bring the building into further compliance with the intent of the overlay district, which is perfectly acceptable as a zoning and planning practice. And I am also in favor of the plan. It looks good, gentlemen. I'm glad you were able to make the meeting. I'm glad you were able to bring the material samples.
You're welcome. And we also own the Gulf Auto Loop. So that's also at 50 South Street in Belleville. So though it's not a Planet, it's the only one that remained a Gulf. But, you know, that's also been done up and modeled. So we're also glad to be here as well.
Excellent. At this time, if there's no other planning commission
Through
discussion.
the chair.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make comments. The blue basically is a branding.
Correct,
I
yes,
think,
it's
which is fine. So
yes.
that makes a lot of sense that it is blue. I'd say I compliment you on your package, actually.
Thank you.
There are probably more renderings here for us to understand and much, much larger projects that ever have come through here recently. So that definitely, you can take that as a major compliment. Limestone, basically, and it all changes, had a pretty good leap. So I would say that's nice to see that. It's a pretty high level finish for a face of a oil loop place, which I'm good with,
Thank you.
100%. The only thing I would say as far as drawings are concerned is, while the renderings are awesome, I would suggest maybe the front page get updated so that they represent the limestone on the front facade, because right now it's showing what looks like metal panel.
Yes.
The beige color, not the blue.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the only thing I would say that I would recommend when you send the final in.
Yes.
Commissioner, that would be a recommendation to staff to ensure that the plans are accurate with the intent.
Yes,
Is
so
that correct, Commissioner?
The review letter already has the paint code and the stone code
I
that we're
understand.
using
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So it's hard for rendering software to get it, you know, exact because it's pixels versus natural.
I mean, your rendering the major rendering that you show that shows it, that's
Yes.
fine. It's just the ones on the front page. Just have them match that one.
No problem.
Staff.
If there's no other
matches.
comment from the Planning Commission, I would like to open the floor to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that'd like to comment specifically on this action item? Please raise your hand, and I would be happy to welcome you to the podium to speak. I do not see anyone raising their hand for public comment on this item.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir, please.
So, in one of our initial meeting, well, for the record, my name is Hassan. For the initial, after our initial meeting, when we were sent back, we did receive a phishing email in which we were scammed $5,000. It was an official invoice that looked like it came from Dan Power's email at, I think it was USA.net. The owner unfortunately didn't look past it much. When he did go to the bank, he noticed, he said, I'm wiring to a Charles Schwab account. This doesn't seem right, but I got an email. So he kind of chalked it off. I don't think he made a police report, only because he feels like it's not going to go anywhere. So I wanted to put it on the record that there are phishing scams going out there. There are wire scams going out. So as you do approved plans, kind of make it clear to the applicant on what are the next steps, what to expect, to not, you know, is the township going to indeed send you an email asking for a wire, or do you come pay here at the cashier? So, you know, it costed us $5,000. We learned a lesson. The owner said he's never wiring anything again in his life. If he can't pay via check, he's not paying for it. But, so I just want to put that on the record from the initial hearing.
Thank you. Director Akers, do you have any comment on that issue? I know that it was reported to us in a later meeting that an incident had happened, and we have had that happening for a while. In fact, we've taken key information out of the packets and redacted applications in order to try to limit that
There's
information.
only so much you can do with public
Absolutely.
information.
Director Akers, would you like to comment further?
So just, you know, but I guess for maybe the public's concern, like the township will never ask anybody to wire money. So if anybody with my email address or any contact information or letter from the township asks to wire money, just, you know, for the audience, the township will never ask anybody to wire money. We have started to take some precautions, as the planning commissions know. We're not putting the applications with the individual's contact information in the packets. You know, we're trying to do different things. I would encourage the owner to file a police report, though. I know the Michigan State Police has a cybercrimes division, and this is not something that's just occurring in Van Buren Township. This is occurring all across the state.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, even sometimes these little, you know, details from one case may lead to a break for everybody
Maybe a
else.
case,
so.
maybe an account number, a wire receipt, you know, it's just, we ask that somebody take it serious because they're impersonating a government entity, a government employee, you know. I mean, it looked like an official invoice, Van Buren Township, the watermark, instructions, approval letter, and so whoever doesn't know the email, it's a perfect phishing scam.
I do want you to know that when we review these packets, at least when I review them, when I see personally identifying information that could be used in that way, my very first call or drive down to the office is to say, guys, you gotta, you know, here's a problem, we can't have this in here. And sometimes, most of the time, I think we catch it before it's published, sometimes not. Frankly, sometimes we don't know how these scammers get the information. We're doing everything we can to try to prevent it. I'm sorry it happened to you. I'm very glad that you were brave enough to stand up and say that it happened to you so that it doesn't have to happen to other people.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
That's exactly
Thank you.
our point. And if we do file a police report, I'll share with you the police report number, and if anything comes about it, then it came about it.
Thank you very much. That's excellent. Commissioners, if there's, sir, if you're no more comment, and there is no public comment, planning commissioners, what is your desire considering preliminary and final site plan approval?
Make a motion. I'd like to
Please.
make a motion for case 26-001, Planet Oil, for the applicant Bill Shami on behalf of owner Zachary Rowley for the parcel located at 10645 Belleville Road to grant both preliminary and final site plan approval, subject to the letter, McKenna letter dated July 1st, 2026.
Support.
Is there discussion of the motion? Any discussion, commissioners?
Just like to add or clarify that Ms. Sayer did confirm that the final changes can be done administratively, since there won't be a final site plan.
Great. Any other discussion of the motion? Then, at this time, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Medina Atchison,
Yes.
Bernie Grant,
Yes.
Sherry Budd,
Yes.
Jackson Paul, Jeff Jar.
Carried motion. Congratulations. Good luck on your making the building as beautiful as it looks in the plans.
Thank you. And,
Appreciate your time.
Just what would be the next steps, so just we know what to expect?
If you could reach out to Director Akers or the building department in the morning, that would be best. Great, thanks. Super. That takes us now to new business. We have two new business items tonight. Business item number one is the Belleville Road Overlay District B-Rod Height Zoning Ordinance Text Amendment. The title is the same as for the public hearing, Article 6, Section 6, 6309, C2I, additional building height, except hotels, senior housing, and hospitals, adding Section 6.309, C2J, additional building height for hotels, senior housing, and hospitals. At this time, I would ask for a presentation from Township staff. Director Akers?
Thank you very much. I'll turn the presentation over to our Township Planner, Lauren Sayer.
Right, thank you. In accordance with Planning Commission's direction, in the subsection J, which is the building height for hotels, senior housing, and hospitals, we did make the change to clarify that this is only, or that the at-grade doorway architectural requirements are only for doorways that front streets, and then also allow them to be either recessed or projected in accordance with the discussion on that. Again, providing that architectural variation, that the step back, that the other additional building heights are trying to get at. And then similarly with the third item, clarifying that it's only street frontages that would be requiring the alternating either projections or recesses as the architectural variation that's required in the B-ROD district. So aside from that, the ordinance is the same as proposed during the June, I believe, 24th meeting. But happy to answer any additional questions.
Excellent. Planning commissioners, any discussion of the issue at this time? Questions for staff? Comments, thoughts?
Just through the chair, I think it addressed the problems that we thought we needed to have addressed.
Yeah, I agree. Just for my sake of understanding, so the B-ROD requirements still apply though, right, for B-ROD?
Correct.
With regard to, you know, some of the, and I know that you outlined it here, if I can find it again, where, you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's on page 2. These still apply, correct?
They do still apply. The in the subsection J, the third item just requires that variation to be either recessed or projection from the building plane.
Commissioner, you okay with it?
With it.
Excellent. If there's no more planning commission discussion, I think, thank you, Ms. Sayre, for doing the edits. I think you captured what our intent was from the previous meeting. At this time, I would look to see if there's any public comment from any of the audience members in attendance tonight on item number 1, new business. If you'd please raise your hand, I'd be happy to recognize you to the podium. I do not see any hands shooting up at this time, which is okay. Great. So at this time, I will turn it back over to the Planning Commission. Planning Commissioners, to take further action on this, we would need a motion to make some recommendation to the Township Board with regard to this proposed ordinance text. Do I hear such a motion?
Through the chair,
Commissioner?
I would like to make a motion that we make a recommendation to the Township Board that they approve the Belleville Overlay District Height Zoning Ordinance Text Amendment and capturing the letter that has been provided by McKenna dated June 24th, 2026.
Support for the motion?
Well, go ahead.
Support from Commissioner Grant this evening. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Jackson Paul?
Yes.
Medina Atchison?
Yes.
Bernie Grant?
Yes.
Sherry Budd? Jeff Jar?
Yes. Great. I'll forward that recommendation up to the Township Board staff. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 2 this evening in new business, which is titled Child Care Institution Ordinance Amendment Memo. This is discussion number 2. The title is Discuss a Proposed Child Care Institution Ordinance Amendment. At this time, I believe we have a presentation from Township staff. Director Akers.
Thank you. I will once again turn it over to our Township Planner, Lauren Sayre.
Ms. Sayre.
All right, thank you. So I know that the memo is fairly long. It encompasses a lot of items, and in having some discussions with Guiding Harbor, which is how this gap in the ordinance was brought to our attention, I believe that there will probably be further changes to the proposed that I'm going to discuss when we get to that section. But in terms of tonight, I think the objective is to see how Planning Commission feels about some of the initial direction, as well as potentially amending the child caring organizations that already are included in this. So the first page details the adjacent communities. I know that was something this board was interested in. A lot of them, as the table shows, will define certain uses but don't regulate them. For example, family foster homes or group foster homes are included in a lot of them, but are not included in the permitted use table as regulated uses. And additionally, even the one ordinance from Ypsi Township that does define a child caring institution, they do not include it in the permitted table of permitted uses. So currently, Van Buren Township defines and regulates the family, childcare homes, group childcare homes, and childcare centers, with some use standards attached to childcare centers and group homes. We also did some deep dives into other child caring institutions in Wayne County, but we were not able to, so we looked at New Directions in Livonia and Vista Maria and Dearborn Heights, and we could not find any records of their approvals through their elected bodies or planning commissions. We did, again, look through those records, but for Vista Maria, I believe that's, is open in 1976, so that's, it's hard to say how that was approved back then. And then for the New Directions, it could be that it was approved as part of I believe it's part of a church, so maybe that is how they approved it, but it was not ever put before special land use. When discussing the changes, I guess maybe I'll pause any questions on sort of like the research or background before I kind of jump into potential changes.
Move on with the presentation, and we'll take a minute to absorb it, and if we think of anything, we'll come back. Thanks.
So first, of course, adding definitions. We have proposed language for the child caring institutions, child placing agencies, foster family home, foster family group home, and children's camps. And then we also included, for reference, how the existing child care organizations are defined in the ordinance. And then additionally, permitted use table. We have the current permitted uses for family, group, and child care centers. We did want to see kind of, again, Planning Commission's appetite towards making group child care homes more permissive instead of special land use permitted by right in the residential districts. And we are, same with child care centers in the districts that they're permitted. And we do have, we are proposing the special land use in sort of mirroring where child care centers are permitted for the child caring institutions. The rationale behind the group child care homes is that, similar to family child care homes, that they are, the principal use of that structure is a home, first and foremost. Believe that they're still residential in nature, should be treated as such. The Michigan Zoning Enabling Act allows townships to require special land use, and then also requires that if they meet the standards in the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, they have to be granted. But that does not mean that the township has to apply those. It could apply less restrictive standards. Additionally, the child care centers, they're currently special land use, while schools are permitted by right in those same districts, except for the AG. Both are, institutional uses, and it's not atypical for ordinances to treat them as more of a commercial, but we do feel as though this is sort of an oversight of many current ordinances to treat them as commercial instead of, a foundational institutional community use. And so that's why we've aligned them with the schools, except for the AG, which doesn't allow schools in keeping that special. And then for the child caring institutions, we feel they're likely to be a little more intensive than the traditional in-home, and for that reason, have mirrored the districts in the child care centers, but have kept that special land use in this proposal. Child placing agencies would be considered a professional office in this draft, although I guess the curveball that kind of came to the attention that's outside of this memo is that child placing agencies are actually allowed to have independent living associated, which is also a component of Guiding Harbor. So they are allowed to have, and this age range is 16 to 21. So because child placing agencies can have a residential and 24/7 component to it, the direction I think we would want to shift it towards is, instead of specifying child caring institutions, more broadly defining it as 24-hour childcare and including child placing agencies with child caring institutions, which would then shift placing agencies from, if they have that aspect of them, from an office to that 24-hour childcare. In the use standards, a lot of it recommending clawing back where comfortable, as it's either a requirement for licensing. So as I'm sure most folks are familiar, the child care sphere is already heavily licensed, and providers do go through quite a few hoops with the state in order to be licensed and able to provide that care. So ensuring that our standards are, to the extent possible, not creating more barriers, so that it's easier for these businesses to open. But that's why emergency care, proposing striking through hours of operation, proposing to strike through on the separate building, separate parcel, considering if, there are some childcare centers that are located within multi-tenant buildings, this would restrict that. I know there's not too many existing ones in the township, and probably not too many people building strip malls anymore, but still worth considering. The outdoor recreation area, requesting planning commission consider reducing this. So the minimum right now there is 5,000 in the per ordinance. The state minimum's 1,200 square feet. So it's about, at minimum, again, a little over 400%, requiring more space than the state. And then the frontage requirement, again, the proximity to residential areas is often important for a childcare center. So we feel that this frontage on a secondary primary county road might limit that as well. The same with the setbacks. For the daycare, the group home, broadly speaking, the request is to consider if any of these standards can be reduced or removed, as well as considering, again, as part of the permitted use table, not requiring group homes to go through special land use. The child caring institution standards, those are the ones that I think we would like to take a stab at rewording that for the 24-hour, which would then probably limit, it would probably change a couple of the subsequent accessory use or outdoor use standards, and it might just provide a better overview to have it as that 24-hour rather than child caring institution and child placing agency. And then we would also include the children's camps that was defined earlier as part of the campground, so they would still be subject to, we feel that subjecting them to the campground requirements as well as the state licensing would be sufficient. So that was a lot to digest, but any initial questions or comments or?
Thank you, Ms. Sayre. Well, that's why it's a discussion, right? It is a lot to discuss, to digest, but we don't have to digest it all in one sitting. Commissioners?
Yeah, I guess I'll start through the chair.
Yes, sir, please.
So just to be clear, as far as, excuse me, following this, the definitions will replace what we have here currently, what you're identifying as The current child care definitions, right, they would replace that?
They would not replace it. It would be in addition to.
And two, okay, so they're additional. So when you go down further, so with those new definitions, how are they accounted for? Are they going to be placed into the permitted use table, added to it, or are they,
So,
how do they fold into that permitted use table, I guess?
sure. So the permitted use table still does have the child care institutions. That's the one we would propose changing to 24-hour child care. If a child placing agency had an independent living component, they would be part of that 24-hour child care. Whereas if they did not, and they were just simply helping with, adoption and foster placement, then it would be a professional office. And the children's camps would be considered campgrounds. So, we definitely understand it's important to have alignment within definitions and permitted use tables, but we also don't want to get so granular that, you're defining every, like, lawyer's office or, by profession or accountant and things like that nature. I think it can be under professional if they're not offering the care component, child care component.
All right, just a couple quick questions. I'm not sure I follow that 100%, but I'll think.
Hold on for just a second, if I could.
Go ahead.
Commissioners, did anybody have any comments on what was just said with regard to the definitions?
I feel like, through the chair, excuse me, I feel like what would define it would be the 24 hours. Like that is the
Correct.
pivotal piece that we seem to have the gap with. Once we capture that in the ordinance, I feel like that'll make us more complete, especially with Guiding Harbor's request.
I'll comment that I do like having our definitions section. So, how do these definitions fit into that use table? We have in a separate section of the ordinance, all of the defined terms. And a lot of times those defined uses will show up in the table. It may be possible to define a group of uses and then refer to that group of uses in the use table. But I do think it's important that they match up somehow. And that while it's, we don't want to get too granular, this is also, it is a legal document, and precision matters in those. So I think making sure that the names and the definitions are consistent in the use tables and called out consistently. Is that kind of what you're getting at, Commissioner?
Exactly. Done a good job.
Oh, thank you. But that was my one of my feedback on there.
Is it addressed if in the definition, I tried to put it there, this is one of the lines, like children's camps are considered campgrounds, or
I would
a
actually,
little more explicit?
just as feedback, if you have a definition in the ordinance that defines specific term children's camps as a use, you should always, when you're referring to the use the word children's camps. Don't just say campgrounds, because then your campgrounds may be a different definition in the document somewhere. Well, you think you meant children's camps, but there might be another definition for campgrounds somewhere else in the document, and then it becomes ambiguous, and then it becomes a long meeting. And we want to try to avoid those as much as possible. So I would recommend that in so much as possible, make sure the definitions match the items on the use table, or make a group that disambiguates it. Yeah.
Okay, 'cause, it could be instead of, the issue just that it says it's considered this, maybe it's like considered that for the purpose of permitted uses, gets a little closer. I think the concern with the child placing specifically is that it doesn't necessarily have an independent living component by nature. They can add that through the state, but that's not inherent.
Without
to them.
crafting the words right in the meeting here, I would say maybe then we should revisit what the definition is. If there's one that doesn't necessarily have that component, we might want to call it out separately if it is
Okay.
allowed, if there's a difference in how it should be applied. Call it out as a separate definition. Definitions are cheap. It's a paragraph, you put it in and it disambiguates. That'd be my feedback from having done it a few times. Uh,
Through the chair.
Can I hold on just a second, Commissioner? Commissioner, I had stopped you because I had wanted comment on that, what you had brought up.
Go
Are
ahead,
you,
I'll wait.
Commissioner Atchison, please go ahead.
So if I understand this correctly, we're looking at all the definitions. I'm struggling with, I understand foster family home is a private residence. We have foster family group home, private residence. We go down to children's camp, a residential. Is that right? Because next to it, it's like, it's only a day camp. It's a troop, it's a travel camp. I don't understand why the word residential is there. It just doesn't seem like it should be fitting there. The next one is daycare and childcare family home. It's a private residence. Childcare, below it, the next one, the group home, it's a private residence. So I'm just struggling with the children's camps, and it's a residential. The last thing I want is we have a single-family home and somebody is setting up camp. I wouldn't be happy with my neighbor.
One up right away because that's the next question. Because I have even homes in question mark for camps.
Right. Thank you.
I would add to that is that if we are going to spell out specifically residential, should we spell out churches, schools, any other places that would do these summer camps for kids?
Again, a disambiguating statement to say that the churches are maybe not, exempt from the residential use.
Right,
Yeah, probably a good idea. I know I had some question about the use table as well with regard to the recommendation of making some of these special land uses moving directly to permitted by right. Without going over the entire matrix, I just want to say that we've Commissioner Atchison, Commissioner Treasurer Budd, and I know we've done some of these childcare ordinance language in the past, and one of the things that I remember us discussing was, why isn't it permitted by use? Why is it a special land use for a childcare home in a residential area? Why should that be a special use instead of permitted by right? And I think the answer that we circled around multiple times but ultimately arrived at was that it's important to make sure that these childcare facilities are very, I don't want to say highly scrutinized, but that we know what's going on and that we're sure that it's something that is good for our residents, and that the added step of special land use, now maybe not for all these expanded categories, but in general, one of the reasons why they aren't permitted by use is because we want to be able to have that little bit of oversight, that little extra oversight for the children of Van Buren Township, because we as a community think it's important enough to spend time in a meeting to discuss a special land use for a childcare home going into a neighborhood. Even though it's something that we all agree is good, something that they should have, we still wanted it to be special use so that it was fully understood. And that was the logic. So I know you had asked it in your report, what do we think about changing those to permitted from special land use to just permitted by right? And I think my answer there is, I personally think it's okay for us to have that little extra oversight where it is so very critically important to our children of the community. That's why we had it that way, Lauren.
Through the chair, I'd like to add on to that because that's a good point. From the standpoint, I know that when we had, I can't remember who was here from Guiding Light, right?
Jennifer Trotter.
Jennifer. She made a point that they want it to feel like home residential, so I think that would allow us to control that aspect of it a little bit more to make sure that it's integrated well into the neighborhood. I think that's primarily where I'm coming from, because I would agree it would be great that they have that neighborhood setting so they feel like they're in a home rather than in an institution. And I think that would help us to help move it in that direction.
Sure. And if I could add to that, the question of frontage that you brought up later in your report, asking about maybe removing the requirement for the frontage on a main street for certain uses. One of the reasons that we want frontage on some of these uses is because while during the day when the parents are doing their thing and the children are in the care facility, there's not a lot of traffic. But these sort of uses tend to have very high peak traffic. And it's peak traffic at a time when there are a lot of little kids running around. And that's what worries us. So while we normally, in a residential area, we aren't terribly concerned about being on a major road. In fact, being on a major road can be a detriment. We want to make sure that there is enough frontage for a child care center to support the peak number of, okay, everybody's off work, let's go pick up the kids, right? We don't want to have the chaos of 15 cars pulling up and all the kids jumping into cars, and it's not good. It's not good from a safety standpoint. That's what we've discussed in the past. So you're asking us to consider maybe removing that requirement. I'm giving you feedback as to why maybe the frontage requirement is in the ordinance, and that having frontage on a paved county road or a secondary road and having ingress through the same is actually, there's a reason for that. And it really is a learned from experience safety thing. We may be willing to work on that language or make exceptions, because I know there are different care groups that we're talking about bringing in, and maybe different use definitions could have different requirements regarding frontage. Or maybe it's one of those things that in special land use we cover, that's my feedback with regard to your frontage question.
Sure. So, I mean, I appreciate the context for, how some of these use standards came to be in terms of, that peak traffic. I think typically that would be addressed with, a stacking requirement, because you wouldn't ideally want them to even stack out into the road.
If I could just say that that's right, in a commercial district, yeah, stacking, right? That's where you have to have enough cars in front of the drive-through to not obstruct traffic on the street. But if you have a childcare facility in a residential area, they're not gonna have stacking. I mean, they're going to, the cars
But
will
we're
be
talking
parked
about,
on
we're
the
talking
street,
about
right?
commercial though.
Oh,
right?
this is specifically in the commercial?
This is for childcare center, the frontage.
This is the definition that's specifically commercial.
For center, yes.
Okay, all right. Super, well, forget what I said then. But I guess what I said is, stacking, but yeah, that's, again, is sort of my feedback on it, that, it's not clear to me exactly which definition we were talking about in there.
Sorry, yeah, I think we jumped from group to the group homes to the commercial. But in terms of the group and the special land use, I think I guess where I'm coming from is, these group home providers, they're not a large business, they're not a commercial thing. The margins are already pretty, even on commercial childcare, the margins are slim. So, licensing takes a lot of time, so to add that time as well for, special land use approval, as well as, the additional fees, because they also, if a special land use, special land use, they also need a site plan, and this is, they have to get a site plan on their home to submit that. It does become quite burdensome and might deter someone from opening that. So that doesn't mean that there can't be use standards to make, planning commission that they would review against, make them more comfortable with the operation. But even, I guess, removing the requirement for that additional step and additional fee of special land use is where I'm approaching it from. But again, the planning commission's discretion on this.
Nope, absolutely.
For the definitions for foster family home and foster family group home, it explicitly says the number of children. It would be 4 or fewer for foster family home, 5 or 6 for foster children, or for foster family group home. My question is, we mentioned that for the child placing agencies, sometimes there's gonna be maybe temporary, I don't know if it would meet the definition, awaiting more permanent placement or more long-term placement. They just come into the system. At what point, I guess, does a child placing agency become a foster family group home? If you go above seven kids while you're waiting
Separate
for
licensing group, or?
It's completely separate. So it's a little confusing, and even I'm still learning about it, as it's evidenced by this. But child placing agencies don't hold children while they're being placed. They just assist in the placement of these children. in the administrative and doing the checks and making sure that they're all, the foster parents or adoptive parents are sat through the state requirements.
So is it that some of these agencies that do provide temporary housing, those are two different, like, there's a placement and then there's a building and it's the same organization, but that's the foster group home compared to the placement agency? Is that kind of how they would do that? Like two separate buildings as opposed to like one?
Truthfully, I'm not entirely sure where children are before they're placed, where they're residing or what that landscape is.
I guess, and
Reducing the requirement.
whatever
of
isn't
removing
necessary is necessary in these instances.
Especially what this year
From
road has to be
our
on a
perspective, I
paved
just don't
road.
want to, like, if you are a placement agency, let's say you are maybe 2 or 3 days, just some temporary placement for someone while you're looking for a long-term home. I don't want them to have 7 kids on premises and then they become a foster care, then they're no longer like within our ordinance, I guess. That would just be my one concern is, do we need to specify for like placing or even create a new definition to say, like, if you are one of these placing or temporary homes while we wait to get you into a full foster home, you're still in compliance with our ordinance kind of deal. Maybe I'm not.
Or maybe it's a licensure thing and they can't do it anyway because of the licensing. That would be
Right.
something to.
And if that's a state thing,
I can
that's a
look
state thing
into
too.
sort of
Yeah.
where the children are prior to being placed to see how that intersects.
So growing up, my family actually, we fostered. I had some foster siblings, and there would be times where we would get a call, say, hey, would it be possible for you to watch this couple of children for 2 or 3 nights while we're waiting to get them into somewhere where they can be for the next 6 to 9 months kind of deal. I just don't want that to happen to someone and then they become non-compliant because they're going above and beyond.
Through no intent of their own.
Right.
I got it.
Exactly.
Treasurer Bud had a question about the frontage and paving.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
where it says, childcare shall have frontage on a paved road, and it was asked that we consider removing this requirement because a lot of times a paved road would be busier than we would want children to be onto, and why wouldn't it be just as well if it was on a dirt road? So I don't know why we don't remove that as requested.
Are we being asked, Ms. Sayer, on this frontage section F
F-
here?
F
Are
on
you
pa-
talking about
on
completely?
page 5.
On page 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you talking about completely removing the frontage requirement, or you're talking about asking us to consider removing the paving requirement? That's what we're getting at.
The entire thing is sort of what the request, the entire section of
Paved or
requiring on the-
unpaved or unpaved is what you're saying.
not regulating necessarily based on what road it might be on was the request, but.
And if they want to get these 3 units, and the parcel might not be on a paved road. And so I don't know if a dirt road wouldn't suffice.
Yeah, I think, broadly speaking, if the concern is stacking, then maybe a standard related to that could be added, or, I can cross-reference the parking section and see if there is maybe a section about that already. There might very well be, to address that concern.
Well, then I just wondered why it, I don't know who the "we" is. Who?
Oh, this is existing, this is the current,
Right.
right, yeah.
Right, but they want it removed.
Oh, we is usually me, it just feels weird to say I.
Okay, I was pretty sure that's right.
I had a very honest response. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but it was funny. Yes, Commissioner.
We, okay? I agree with we. And then I just want to touch back on Guiding Harbor. When we looked at Guiding Harbor, if you know them at all, they have a child placing agency. It's on Huron River Drive. Then they have their facility that's over here on Old Denton Road. That's where the residents reside 24 hours, okay? Then is there another building over there, or?
I'm not sure exactly, to be honest, where maybe Director Akers
Yeah,
has a
so-
better.
Building, and I don't know if it's also on
Yeah.
Huron River Drive or if it's on.
So they have three separate facilities right now. So one of their facilities is their administrative offices, which is on Huron River Drive, out just within the city of Belleville. They have their Girls Town facility, which is on Quirk Road, just east of Belleville Road. And then they do have an independent living facility. That facility is not local. It's actually on West Cross Street in Ypsilanti.
Oh. They do have residents living there, though? Yes. Okay.
Through the chair. Yes. Want to add on, the child placement agency, what comes to mind for me is, what if the institution wants to develop a campus? And they want to say, well, we want to have child placement agency office within that campus. Currently, right now, it says they have to be in commercial because it's under office professional, right? Versus, what if they want it to be what if they want to be associated with their child caring institution, which can be in residential, right? So, they'd have to rezone if they want to make a campus. Can't we make a provision where maybe even, I don't even know if size makes a difference, that if they're within a residential zone, then they need to maintain a residential character as part of a campus?
Yeah, that is what she spoke of, is wanting to have
Right.
the 3 buildings on one parcel.
Right.
Well, commissioners, it's going on 6:45, and this is discussion number 2 of what I think is, there are some good feedback that we've given to our planning consultant.
Right.
And I think at this time, I don't know that I'd be very comfortable scheduling the public hearing tonight. But what I would ask of the commission, since there were, concerns brought up by all of us, that we take some time after the meeting, sometime in the next week, and take a moment and mail your specific feedback on the document to Ms. Sayer so that she can integrate it into another draft. I think it'd be a better use of everyone's time than trying to do it live in a meeting here. If it turns, Ms. Sayer, if you get enough feedback that you feel that it turns into something that requires a subcommittee meeting, a group to get together and discuss in person, reach back out to me or Chairman Cullen, and we will facilitate that for you. If it's okay with you for me to direct the commissioners to send you feedback directly?
I think everyone has my contact, but feel free. I think I have business cards with me, but I also can write down my contact info.
Think you know how to get in touch with us, so we'll work it out. If that's okay with the rest of the commissioners, I guess I would like to close down the discussion unless there's any final words you guys would like to say?
Nope.
Great. Then thank you very much for the work you've done on it, Ms. Sayer. We appreciate it, and your thought in it so far. Hopefully we can get some more information, get this hammered out and into a state where we can take it to a public hearing at some point in the near future. So commissioners, please don't sit on it. Write your comments down and send it in while they're fresh in your mind, please. I'd appreciate it. Unless there is, that was planning commission discussion of our item number 2. Is there anyone in the public this evening in attendance that would like to comment on what you've heard here for item number 2? If so, please raise your hand. I'd be happy to recognize you to the podium. I see some people smiling and shaking their heads, but I see no hands. So at this time, I think we are, the straw poll is we are not going to schedule a public hearing at this time. I don't believe we need to take a vote on that. Any discussion? No vote? Okay. We will look forward to having another discussion on the agenda item when it is appropriate, Ms. Sayer. Excellent. At this time, that would take us to general public comment, but we have already done that agenda item. So now we are on general discussion and updates. Director Akers, do you have anything for general discussion and updates for us?
Few things. So we have our next 3 upcoming meetings are all likely to be very busy meetings, just as a heads up to the commissioners. So August 12th, we will see 2 public hearings for 2 special land use requests. One is going to be for Ashley Capitol Crossroads North Building number 10. So that will be coming on August 12th. And then there is also going to be a public hearing for a demolition and rebuild of the Shell gas station at Belleville Road 994. So those will both be coming before you. And then Costco has a site plan amendment that they are bringing forward to the Planning Commission. They're building a bathroom building in their truck yard, so it's kind of minor, but it needs to come before the Planning Commission. And so those are the projects that are coming on the 12th. On August 26th, the final site plan approval for the Google development and the final site plan approval for the DT-ITC substation is tentatively scheduled for August 26th.
I'm sorry, excuse me, what was the second one after final site plan for Google?
The DTE-ITC substation.
That's associated with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, and again, these are tentative. Tentatively, September 9th is when the Waverly rezoning request will come before the Planning Commission. So busy couple meetings. Couple other things to highlight is that at the board meeting last night, the Township Board extended our temporary moratorium on accepting applications for private power generation facilities, private detention centers, and certain industrial projects. So that was extended at the board meeting last night. The MAP conference is in October, or I'm sorry, it's in September of this year. It's going to be in Kalamazoo. Just as a reminder, I know many of you have registered, but the township does pay for the planning commissioners to go to the Michigan Association of Planning Conference. They do offer the citizen planner course during that conference. So, I know we've had other commissioners. I'm not sure who's taken it and who hasn't, but I know we've offered that to all of our commissioners. It's a critical training. It's a good program that MSU Extension puts on. Couple other quick things. So regarding that property that I know has been brought up, I believe it was brought up at the last meeting too, where they discussed it's at Haggerty and Independence Drive. I've spoken, or I've traded emails with the Division Director of Environmental Services of Wayne County to make him aware and put him in touch with the property owner who's over there, so that way they can hopefully take some enforcement action. They have indicated that those activities do require soil erosion sedimentation control actions, and they had indicated to me that they would be reaching out. So that is one. And then the last question that I have, and this is still something that I am trying to figure out, but we have a preliminary draft of the zoning ordinance amendment, which addresses some of these industrial uses and specifically related to data centers as well and high energy uses. We have a draft of that, and the Planning Commission, I assume there's going to be a lot of discussion on it. But we are very busy as a Planning Commission addressing different applications and different things. So I just want to put this out as an idea. If there is interest in maybe, doing an additional work study to start piercing through that and start having conversations about that and split it together.
Absolutely.
So
It's a lot of information to have to break down, so it's like it's good to have us together with some subject matter experts there. I want to go back to ask a question about the Haggerty and Independence. You said that you've been in contact with Wayne County, with the property owner. You said that they're going to be reaching out. Are they reaching back out to you, or are they going to the location to stop whatever's going on there?
I assume there's going to be some enforcement action taken by the county against the property owner.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that.
Director Akers, you have a path to follow up on whether or not that happens, right?
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
Add on to that if you don't mind.
Commissioner, please, go ahead.
That has been going on for well over a year, maybe a year and a half, and it's very dusty. The roads get dirty, and there's no control over it. I don't believe, and I haven't noticed any silt fences over that period of time, so somebody's not doing their job.
Yeah.
And I would even go so far as saying that this is not just something through Wayne County, but I view it as a building pad prep, because they're filling in, which probably is almost approaching 10 acres. And I would have to imagine that I mean, in construction for a building pad prep, that typically the soils are identified as part of a specification. Not only that, but they're actually, you have to follow up with reports that show what that fill is. At this point, I'm not even sure anybody knows what's getting placed there. I mean, this could be somebody dumping their contaminated site. I doubt you have Wayne County showing up doing any level of testing. If they have reports coming from who's ever constructing this pad, needs to get it to the township so that you can let the residents know who've already complained on Facebook about this, about blowing, dirt fill, whatever, across the roads and into their residential areas, and primarily it's the apartment complex. I think they need to know that answer should be, that question should be answered. And I too believe if you look into our ordinance, there's gotta be something that says to these guys, look, you're prepping a building pad. You're not just filling up a low spot because they're doing a 10-acre area. And I know it's prepping for a building pad. So I think the township may have a pathway to get these guys to properly provide engineering, because right now it's a low spot. They're raising the grade up almost, 2 feet maybe? That's a big, huge change in how, stormwater drains. And it could be draining to places where it shouldn't be going, and it could be potentially, I'm not saying it does, could be causing some flooding in areas, in the long term that we don't want it to go. And, it's gonna be whoops, they're done, and, what are we gonna do, force them to take it all out? So I think they have to prove that what they're doing isn't detrimental to the neighboring properties, as well, that the material is properly compacted and directed, to the proper locations for drainage.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner. I think that staff is very much aware of the problem. They've heard about it.
I
in the
disagree. I
meeting.
disagree.
It's worth reiterating. I am with you, sir. It's worth reiterating. I think staff understands the importance of it, and if you'd like to contact staff and talk about what other avenues they've approved or they've gone down in general, I encourage you to call staff and have that conversation. At 5 minutes to 7 this evening, though, that's probably not the right time, and the staff is probably not fully prepared to have that conversation with you right now in this meeting.
Afterward, because I think there might
Super.
be some language that we can.
That'd be a great time. Please contact staff and have it, because I know I have, and I know we've brought it up in the meetings before, and I believe we're getting action. Our continued perseverance is leading to action, I believe. Which is why I asked Director Akers, you do have a way to find out that Wayne County is following up on it. I believe staff is moving in the direction that we want them to. Thanks, Commissioner. Is there any other general, if you'll excuse me, is there any other conversation that general updates or general discussion from the commissioners regarding the updates, which I don't think Director Akers was quite finished with? Director Akers, you weren't quite done with your updates. Sir, I want to say that someone raised their hand in the audience to interject for a moment, and I'll recognize them in just a moment, but I would like staff to finish their thought first, if that's okay. Thank you.
Oh, no, that.
You think you got your
I'm
thought
good.
out? You got
I
the
got my
updates
thought
out? Yes, I would comment on that we've never done a work study for Planning Commission. I know it's something that we can do. Whether that is something that we would do as a work study, or if you, again, wanted to break that out into a subcommittee for review of the ordinance, I think that's something we can bring up with Chairman Cullen when he returns to the seat. Would be an excellent topic of conversation. I know that we are very interested in the details of that ordinance draft, and I would hope that all of the commissioners take the time to read it and give feedback. It's important. Commissioners, any other general updates?
No.
I did see one gentleman in the audience raise his hand, sir, if it's, oh, did I see two? Gentlemen, if it is in response to the general discussion and updates, I would recognize you to come up. I have your 3 minutes, and state your name. Normally I'd ask you to reserve that for general public comment, but I know how it is sometimes.
My name
Sir?
is C.J. Marshall, and
Yes, sir. Chair recognizes
I
Mr. Marshall.
appreciate you recognizing me. I know you had a motion earlier in the meeting to open the discussion, comment for the folks that were here from Waverly on the Lake, and I thought that was generally just for those folks that were here this evening for that purpose. I waited till the end of the meeting for general comments, and this is what I wanted to address.
Mr. Marshall, understood. Sorry for the confusion. Please go ahead.
I'll be brief. The commission does a wonderful job of making ordinances and making sure that people follow our zoning requirements. However, we fall down when it comes to ordinance enforcement. That seems to be a real problem in our township. And I'm not sure if they've addressed that junkyard that's at the corner of Tyler Road and Haggerty Road. You know what I'm speaking about. Have they removed that trash from that place yet? It was supposed to be done by the 17th of this month. It's been removed?
it was done on Monday.
It's clean. I passed by it. Just
Okay, well, ordinance should have been out there ticketing that right away. Same thing with this Waverly project. They need to be ticketing that owner of that property to bring that property back into compliance with the golf course and the property that was there when they first built on it. Nobody gave them permission to close the golf course down, so that should be ticketed and those fields should be cleared and it should be brought back up to standard. And that comes under ordinance, not your problem, it's an ordinance problem. And we had a terrible situation in this township for a long time. I don't know if we don't have enough ordinance officers or if they just are, they don't seem to me, they reply only when you make a complaint. And that seems silly. The same with the police department. When they see something, they need to speak to that person that's violating the local ordinance for their properties. The other thing I want to say, and I'll do real quick here, when you're going through the master plan of this community, we need to look at what we don't want in this community. I know recently we turned down a car wash because we had enough car washes here. Now we have 3 data centers here. There should be a restriction on the size of the property that these people are applying their requests for. There should be a restriction on the size of a data center that can be put here. I don't want a prison in our community, and I don't want a Homeland Security concentration camp here. There's a lot of things that we have to look at that we want to prevent from coming to our township because people are looking at Van Buren Township. We're surrounded by dumps, and we've been taken advantage of over a long period of time. And it's not your fault. It's just ignorance on our part for not seeing in the future what we have to protect ourselves from. So what I'm saying is we need to look at our master plan. I think that's every 5 years we do that, but maybe we ought to look at it sooner and come up with some things that we think are detrimental to our citizenship here. We don't want to be a dumping grounds for any business that wants to come here, such as, well, I don't want to mention, anything to do with child pornography or anything, massage parlors or anything like that. Any disreputable behavior, we don't want business in this community, and you need to look at that. So maybe you can consider that and protect us, okay? And you're doing a wonderful job. I know it's tough.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. I
Some of
appreciate
this stuff's been dumped in your lap. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
point of view. Thank you, sir. Chair recognizes the gentleman in the Hale shirt.
Yeah, my name's Morris Little. I live in Haggerty. And it's short and sweet, but to Mr. Grant, or Commissioner Grant, I talked to a lady last night because Ron was busy. So Supervisor McNamara pointed me to her. Now, as far as that triangle there at Independence, she told me that, because I was complaining about the big mound that keeps getting bigger and they keep dumping, they dumped 2 loads yesterday. But she told me that ITE, is that the name of the one with DTE building the substation?
Just keep talking.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
They have already, that's where they're going to be storing their equipment or whatever they need for the substation. And that kind of took me by surprise. But so it's already backdoored with the owner. And because Ron's been trying to deal with them for a long time, and I appreciate all he's done, because that really shocked me when she told me that ITE, she thought that was all leveled because that's where ITE is going to be putting all their stuff that they need to build the building. So, okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Little. To the best of my knowledge, and staff's knowledge, there has been no building request or permit filed for that site at this time, but we do appreciate you bringing that information to the board. Thank you. If there's no one else in the audience who wishes to speak on the general public comment, again, I apologize for moving that section to the beginning of the meeting. I know some people came in late and didn't realize we had done it at the beginning. We're going to try to make sure that always happens at the end going forward. We don't usually get public hearings canceled like this one did. So I apologize for that. And thank you for sticking around to the end of the meeting, gentlemen. I appreciate it. At this time, if there's no other general discussion and updates from the commissioners, I would entertain that motion at the end.
Through the chair, make
Yes,
a
ma'am.
motion to adjourn.
Do I have support? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.